It's time for the Jim and Terry Show. Jim and Terry Show coming to you still from the Hobbit Hole Studio in Bobcaygeon and
the Comfy Couch in Pepperla, Ontario, Canada. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Political Night in Canada.
Political Night in Canada. We're getting all primed. The pump is ready. The whatever it is necessary to stir up the strife of discontent. And no, we're not discontented, are we?
Well, I'm not into all of this as much as you are. You must have one moment of pulling your hair out and the next moment trying to push it back in or something. I don't.
There is no pushing it back in.
But a lot's been happening in the trying to get this House Speaker going. I don't know if that's where you want to go, but I'll let you lead, my friend. Sorry about that.
Okay, well, let's talk about the House Speaker situation. There are 218 votes required to put a new speaker in place. And so far, now you got to, okay, I'll just make the observation. Kevin McCarthy, who is the Republican nominee at this point for Speaker, has not got 218 votes and needs to cut a deal with either the group of dissatisfied Republicans, who I will call the crazies, Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan, Paul Gosar, I think, is in there. Marjorie Taylor Greene is in that. No, she's supporting Kevin McCarthy. Lauren Boebert maybe is one of those. Anyway, you got about 20, and they need to switch to the Republican support, but they are part of the Never Kevin group. And this is the odd part about this. Kevin McCarthy, though he lamented and castigated Trump on January the 6th, went down to Mar-a-Lago the next day or so and kissed the royal. Ask me no questions. And anybody who does that is not worthy of the speaker. It is a noble position and should be valued.
Well, yeah, he seems to be not valued. He's made a couple of mistakes even in his own party, in his reversing his thought pattern, revealing to other people things he shouldn't be revealing. So
he has no spine and blows with the wind, and usually that wind is wherever Trump pushes him.
Yeah, so what's going to happen, Terry? I mean, they've had they've had what, 8 votes or something?
Yeah, I think they're at 6. But
right.
I might have missed a few. I switched on the hockey game, so I don't know.
Well, they don't forget at 8 o'clock last night, they just recessed. They were coming back that night, weren't they?
I don't know, because you have to take a vote in order to adjourn. So recess, maybe you can get away with, and I guess that's what they've been doing.
Well, I don't know. That's what I thought, because like you, I was watching the hockey game.
Yeah.
And then I was just kind of putting in time, waiting to go to bed, thinking I would be driving out to Bobcaygeon, but I couldn't sleep for the life of me. So anyways, so what I did pick up, I thought it was that they were still going at it. I know the night before he ended up bringing in pizzas, 20 boxes at least of those pizzas. I got hungry looking at it, and I thought that would have been interesting. I'm pretty shallow. I could switch sides just for a piece of pizza. Thought it was a smart move, actually.
Bribery works in American politics. Maybe it works in Canadian politics too. So to observe that, it's what I've been reading is that it's the first time in 120 some odd years that the party in power has not been able to clarify who the Speaker of the House is.
Yeah, it was 100 years ago.
Yeah, so
100 years ago they had a problem, and I think it was I don't know. There was one before that in the Civil War.
Yeah, so it's a record-breaking thing.
Sailing. But this has been a weird administration, as you know, with Trump and everything else, because everything was changed. The whole world was turned upside down. The whole way of doing things in the States. You agree with me, I think, or I agree with you, that the GOP would have been better to dissolve and reform than try to maneuver their way through this mess.
Well, that's how we got the Conservative Party of Canada rather than the Progressive Conservatives dissolve and reform, because the Conservatives in Canada took a beating, just like the GOP. Yeah, reform, break it down, because you don't want to, and maybe even rebrand. I don't think republicanism will survive what Trump did to break all the norms and rules. And speaking of which, we're finding new things about the Trump administration, just how low and how dangerous he was, when we learned this week through emails that were revealed by the January 6th Commission that the Secretary of Defense, SecDef, gave an order for the National Guard to stand down.
That needs to be super nuclear investigated. Should be investigated by both sides of the House, quite frankly. That was just appalling. There was obviously a real move to take over America. This is so thick and so heavy and needs to be put down and crushed. I can't believe anybody would be defending what went on that day. I mean, people lost their lives. The Capitol Hill police, some of them lost their lives, ruined their lives just over the whole mix of it. And listening to that chief of the police, the Capitol Hill police, say when he learned this, he was pretty well disgusted. They had pre-done this days before the insurrection.
Yep.
They were, that makes it, in my opinion, they were part of it.
Yes, they
and
were.
How scary is that for Trump?
That
for
is
the sake of Trump, and they would have sold out their own country.
But that is what Trumpism is at its core, is selling of America.
Yeah,
Whether that's Jared Kushner taking $2 billion from the Saudis, from Mohammed bin Salman. I'm not sure we'll find all that story, the bottom line of that, but intrigue, political intrigue, money manipulation. There's some of that going on in Canada as well. There have been allegations of Chinese interference in buying politicians here in Canada. So that's a story that's still to be investigated and revealed. Whether it's true or not, it's an allegation. We have to investigate.
What it seems, we've gone into a generation, it might be our generation to our shame then, but we seem to have gone into a generation of nobody's really in it for the country at all. They're in it for the power and themselves and what they get out of it. And maybe it's time. I mean, I used to always argue that the prime minister wasn't paid enough, but maybe it's time to kind of knock everything down to more human. People that would only do it would be doing it for the love of the country, not for anything more than that. But I don't know how you can do that. You still need to travel around the world. You still need to do all that junk. And there's all kinds of perks. We don't know any of them. Like you, I don't think Trudeau's doing a bad job. But he's probably got perks you and me don't even know about. That is just part of the...
I would do the job for free coffees first thing in the morning.
Yeah, me too. Maybe one of your coffees, mine. I'm not sure if I might find that.
Well, maybe your taste buds have been affected by COVID or vaccines or whatever you want to blame it on. Maybe I blame it on you and your hot sauce.
Oh, jeepers, yeah. Well, my second dinner last night, I poured a bottle of hot sauce. I poured a bottle of hot sauce. I don't know what I was thinking, Terry. That might have been part of my problem. I had some food, then I ate some chips, and then Leanne came down with a gigantic, huge plate of spaghetti. And I thought, well, I'll just eat some of it. Ate the whole thing. And just sat here went, that is so gluttony. Why on earth would you have done that? So I got to start watching myself.
Oh, my. Well, bless them, John and Leanne, for looking after you.
Yeah, that was nice of them.
It is very nice. Very nice indeed. All right. I wanted to go over other political things besides, if that wasn't enough, the House Speaker not being settled, learning more. I admire the January 6th Commission for publishing. I told you that I have purchased a copy of that because I do want to go through the report, much like I went through the Mueller report.
Yeah.
And I told you I bought a version in which Ari Melber from MSNBC, who's a lawyer that I really enjoy his analysis, he's doing the forward for this, and it was a book deal. So I'm waiting for that. I got a notice from Amazon that it was delayed. I got a notice just yesterday saying it's on its way. So
Oh, nice.
That's a nice little bit of reading to go with my philosophy and my Buddhism,
Oh,
my
gee.
Dalai Lama. So stir all that in a big plate of hot, spicy spaghetti, and you got a real mix for some indigestion.
Yeah, just to be funny, don't get it all connected. You said Buddhism. I'm glad I'm a part of the kingdom of Christ.
Well,
I meant it funny. Not
Yep,
the
yep,
cliche.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure that there is a kingdom to be part of, but that's between you and your beliefs and everyone with their own way of finding their way through life. And what you believe and what you choose to believe and why you choose to believe it, that goes for all of us, whatever it is. I look on Buddhism as a philosophy. I don't look on it as a belief system myself. It's neither here nor there, I guess. Okay, getting back to politics. I did see something interesting from Aaron O'Toole, who was a former leader of the Canadian Conservative Party of Canada, who said he would like to see the end to the F Trudeau flags. And that stirred up a whole bunch of controversy that I've been following, because the people who put up those flags had nothing good to say about Aaron O'Toole in the first place. And we're glad to see Pierre Poilievre replace him anyway.
Yeah, well, I don't like the flags. I mean, I know it's a struggle these days. We're supposed to honor those in power. And, I realize someone like Trump, that takes one hell of a lot of effort to try to do that. As a matter of fact, I don't think it can be done with a sane mind. But Trudeau, as I said, we've gone through some rough times. I don't think I thought he did well through those rough times. The next election, I'm really going to have to pay attention. Not quite sure what I'll do because I have my beliefs, and I don't want to get into it. But F Trudeau, you don't need that stuff all over the place. And this chest puffing crap drives me right around the bend.
So let's start with that. The chest puffing crap is the flags that appeared in Freedom Convoy and Ottawa protest represented that abuse of civility. And I know some people have said that it was, a peaceful protest. I hear that words all the time. They said that about January 6th, that it was a peaceful protest. I don't know how you can possibly conclude that with the video footage.
This is one of the reasons I don't fight it, Terry. And I know it's probably a frustration to you, and I know you do fight it. I think you're banging your head against the wall. I know they're not getting the same information you and I are getting. Yes. I mean, I see what I see, and I say to myself, that's nuts. And the other things will come back completely different. We both like Susan Oliver, is that her name?
Yeah, Dr. Susan Oliver.
Yeah, I like her. She seems to really have her numbers and things right, and she has a great attitude through it. But people like that, I like to listen to and hear, what they're saying. The other side, unfortunately, there's a way in this world where people are making an awful lot of money just lying to people. And, for anybody listening, if you listen to Susan Oliver, Dr. Susan Oliver, she'll just give you the straight facts, and she posts those facts and exposes a lot of the people who are just flat out taking smidzits, little bits. And the thing that bothers me, Terry, is they know they're doing that. They're selling out to make money. And you and I could maybe do that too. I don't think so, but we have that.
I don't want to be lumped in with the grifters.
When you're taking something and you're sending it to the masses, and you have millions of people following you, and if you're that smart to do it and pull it off, also you are lying. And the guy that was denying Sandy Hook down in the States, for instance,
Alex Jones.
You and I were saying it for the longest time. He knows he's lying, and that's how he makes his money. It's how Tucker Carlson makes his money. And I don't know how they sleep at night. I, honest to God, have no idea how you can deliberately have people dying on your watch so that you can have the mansion on the hill. I just think it's disgusting.
I I go to science and facts, and not that science does not change. And that's the thing. You and I have noticed that, whether it's milk or tobacco or whatever it is, that your chocolate, even, that one report 1 year will say it's good for you. And the next year, another report will come out and another investigation say, well, maybe not so good. And it goes back and forth. Science is not fixed, it is emerging. It looks at things and changes when new facts emerge. New facts, not new claims, not new allegations that are unproven. And I think that's the way we need to be. When things become known, you change what you're thinking.
Well, but as
That's
I said, it I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. The science don't matter. What I'm saying is these people are taking parts of reports,
yes.
and they're smart enough to get those reports. They're smart enough to investigate those reports. They're smart enough to know they're taking it out of
Yes.
context. They're deliberately uh, misleading people, leading them down a path. So they're basically liars, and they're doing that at the expense of people dying and
Mm-hmm.
suffering, and a suffering nation. I mean, that's what we have here. They know they're lying, but their recipients don't. They buy into it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they
Which is
because they're not going to listen to someone like Dr. Susan Oliver. They're not going to listen to her because they're preconceived her as being. But when she can say, "This is what this guy said," and here's the actual report, and you got it right there, and you can see this wasn't even in this particular report, that kind of
mm-hmm.
thing. That person had to cut and paste in order to deceive. I have zero respect for those people.
Yeah. So what do people do who don't access the other side of the dividing line of belief? The ones who are anti-vax do not access information on the vaccine efficacy side.
They never will. So
They
that's why
never
I
will.
don't
Yeah.
I don't fight. I don't fight it.
Yeah.
They
So,
never will. I guess I'm surrendered. I always say I'm Switzerland, but I'm not. I like to surrender. My hands are up. Go. What will be. Que sera, sera. I'll try to make the right decisions I can in my life, and I'm not going to be trying to convince anybody of anything
mm,
anymore, because they're just going to go back to, it's like the Bible said, they return to the vomit. And I'm not saying they're returning to the
yeah,
vomit,
yeah,
but you get the idea. They're
yeah.
just going to go back to the pool. They're just going to go back to what they want to believe, and and
Hmm.
and they've already laid down their grounds. They all their friends. They have their armies. They know what they believe, and that's it. And
Hmm.
they can't, they can't see the difference. And I'm sure as we're sitting here, some of our listeners may be pulling their hair out, saying, "That's you." I understand that.
Yes,
I
it's the
totally
whataboutism that it
understand that.
is really tough to break through.
Yeah.
So again, I always say this, consider your source of information. So once you go down the route of all mainstream media is evil and controlled by big money, you've lost the battle then, because what are your sources now? Are you going by a website? So I always ask for a list of links and I always check them out. And invariably, the far right has a few select sites that they adhere to. So it's a very narrow band of information that they're getting. And for those of you who were mainstream news followers, Fox News still remains a source of a lot of misinformation. And I'm sure hoping the lawsuit from the election voting machine companies, a 1.6 billion on Murdoch, and lists the hosts of Fox News as well. I'm hoping that takes that empire of misinformation down. And you can't tell me that they're all the same. Fox is on its own plane of ne'er-do-wellness, and I'm
Well,
looking forward to the lawsuit.
it's whenever you have multimillionaires in control of everything. I am convinced a lot of them are sociopaths, and they just don't
Mm,
care, Terry. They're going to make their money. They're going to have their empire. They already probably have an exit plan should everything go extremely south.
mm.
I worked for a company that went bankrupt. Do you think they're not on their boats? Do you think they're not still living high on the hog? They couldn't have cared less about their workers. They couldn't have cared less about their workers. You're always going to have people like that running the show, and that's why I hate it when it seeps into politics. For
Mhm.
instance, let's take Santos there. Is it
Oh,
Santos that? Oh,
is
look at
that his real name?
well,
What?
that's yeah, I heard that. I heard that. What's your real name? But the thing is, I mean, think about it. He got elected, and he was putting in for a $700,000 rebirth. So automatically, within the first year of his reign, on top of his salary, he would have a bonus of $700,000, which wouldn't even be taxed because it was only a loan, he said. That he has no record of having that kind of money. That's the grab. That's the crap. That's the corruption we're seeing in the world, and I hate it.
Well, in the United States, when you can elect a Lauren Boebert, you can elect a Marjorie Taylor Greene or a Matt Gaetz, who's unindicted. I don't know what the word is polite. He's. There are allegations of impropriety. That's the least I can say, and I don't want to offend it because he hasn't been put on trial. He hasn't been charged. But when you can elect these people, and people don't care who they are that they've
Yeah,
elected, it's
yeah.
just beyond the pale.
Well,
I
the
just,
danger, the thing that gets me is the lack of understanding the significance of what they're doing or not doing, the danger which they're causing, the
mhm.
destruction they're causing playing this game. It's a game. It's a popularity game.
So
And
the most
I,
obvious case of that is in Georgia, when we had the football player going against Warnock, Walker
oh yeah,
versus Warnock,
Herschel,
Herschel Walker.
yeah,
And to me, I'm not to whatever the issues are for Walker. Maybe it's too many hits in football. Maybe there's concussion, brain trauma. Who knows what it is? It could be education, could be poverty, could be all kinds of things that led to who he is. But he is not a Raphael Warnock, not even close. And yet he almost split that vote, almost took it.
yeah.
How's that
Well,
possible?
well, how is it possible? That's that's where we've gone now in society. Like we've just gone there. Like
They just don't care.
just don't care. Well, look at Santos guy or whatever his name is. There wasn't a thing he told the truth about.
No.
He was a Jew. He was a Catholic. His mom died twice.
Yeah.
Twice.
I think it
Uh,
was 9/11. She was a victim of, wasn't she?
yeah, yeah, but she died 5 years later. Uh, you know, and he just was
Yeah.
shameless,
So
shameless.
he's a compulsive liar. But then could we generalize that and say most politicians are compulsive liars?
Well, that's what the concern enters in. The other concern of me is Santos had all these people around him standing beside him. I don't know, who they were, sisters, brothers, anything. They had to know he's lying, Terry.
Yeah.
And they too buy into it too. Like it doesn't matter anymore. Just tell the people what they want.
Because
Trumpism,
money,
Trumpism.
money is to be gained from all of this stuff. As we
Yeah,
learned, Trump said he was going to donate his salary, never donated anything. He
yeah,
actually made money, which is a violation of the Hatch Act. So he's making money while he's the president, didn't donate his salary, didn't donate to charity when he said he would. Nothing Trump has said is true at all, ever.
yeah. He's kind of like his whole life is a lie. Like,
Yes.
like he. You're right. He lied. His foundation, charitable foundation, did nothing but made a portrait of him for a couple of $100,000 and or whatever it was, and they took money and traveled around and stuff like that. And people that do that, again, I don't know, even charities, other charities, he's not the only one that's used charities and has been told.
Mm, you're right.
All of you people are shameless. I heard someone
Mm,
talking the other day, they were going to try to use their insurance to buy something, and it was fine. Maybe it was needed, but I could tell by the conversation the person on the other end of the line was trying to up the value of that. And the
uh,
guy I was listening to said, I'm not in this to make money. You know what I mean? I'm in here
yeah,
to make a claim. I'm not to make money. But it's like, well, you can get all your windows replaced or something, like,
yeah.
you know. And he said, I'm not in it to make money. I just could you answer this question? That's it. But that's where we are, right? People will
Yep.
just screw the pooch, to
Mm.
maybe a wrong term, but you get what I'm saying.
Yep. Yep.
They'll just take and if when the world
Corruption,
gets to this point,
graft.
it's you all of a sudden start wondering about absolutely everybody and everything around you,
Mm. Well, eventually, I still hold by this adage: the truth will set you free. There will be truth.
Yeah.
There will be an accounting. We
Yeah.
will know one way or another. Whether that is the anti-vaxxers' claims of myocarditis and anti-vax claims of whatever, we will know. The science eventually will tell us what we maybe thought was uncertain will become clear over time.
Well, I feel we're answerable to God, not science, but that's okay.
Right. Well, you substitute whatever higher authority you wish to believe in at that point and just say at some point the buck will stop because the truth will be known. And facts matter, evidence matters. I always go by McGill University and their Dirty Dozen article. And lately, I think I sent you a link to the latest claim of the anti-vaxxer community that was debunked by both Dr. Susan Oliver, who then referenced a report that was put out by McGill University. The same person was referenced in both studies who's spreading false information. You got to trust your institutions at some point to some extent. And the general mistrust of governments and all institutions is a concern to me.
Well, it's a concern to me as well. Absolutely is. Well, again, I'm not fighting that for some reason. Maybe I'm wrong in that. I know there is corruption in probably just about everything, but we have to have institutions. We talked about it with the Freedom Convoy, or whatever you want to call it, the occupiers of Ottawa, whatever, where they didn't seem to have any policy in place. They just wanted the government to fall. And that's not, and they're talking freedom. They're talking to not be, fooled. Yet you group want the government to fall where you have no place to replace it. You think that is right? When we have elections to do this, is better than mob rules. Better than mob rules.
That's it. The ultimate expression of individual freedom is anarchy and chaos. Libertarianism in the extreme is chaos and anarchy. So I don't get it. I don't understand how you possibly think that toppling something is better than a plan to, why don't you change the voting system, for instance?
Yeah, you're into that.
I'm into that. So, yeah, I think it's time, and I'd like to see some of these things. Well, let's leave it at that. We'll go at it for a third podcast if you're up to it. All right, you up to it? So I will call you back. This is the Jim and Terry Show, talking about all things, at this point, maybe American, but it's political corruption. It's the things that bother us that maybe could be changed. Maybe there's a way forward to make it better, but it isn't by toppling governments in either a January 6th insurrection a la United States or a convoy occupying Ottawa, as in the Canadian version. And then I'll come back to you with this notion of a recent article that was written by an American think tank about the Americanization of Canadian protests. Talk about that. Okay, Jim and Terry Show signing off. Bye-bye.